Hey everybody, this is Joseph Vicshu with Premier Castle Realty, and today's spotlight, as promised before, we're talking to a lender, a subject matter expert in today's world of lending, and especially for today's market. We've talked a little bit about what's going on in the market as far as the amount of houses, the appraised values. We're talking about interest rates. So our first guest is going to be lender David Mendez, okay, with Mortage Matters, and he will bring to you some great news about what to expect, really, to give you some insight from a lender's point of view. I kind of call this from a bird's eye view, okay, because he sees everything, okay. He supports not only myself and our office, but also he supports a plethora of agents. Okay, he's very popular, very successful, and I think you're gonna be really, really educated with today's interview. So, without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and get started. So, here's take it away, Johnny. Okay, so who is David Mendez? This is a picture of him. Very good looking guy. So you know when he's smiling at you, he's not missing his teeth. So David Mendez is a mortgage broker associate with Mortage Matters Corporation, and I went through some of the things that they have on their website, and it really makes sense to me because he says one of the I guess the motto of the company or the mission statement is we're making getting mortgage easier than ever before. Okay, our company has experienced teams of brokers on staff, and I'm telling you, my clients have been very happy with David, and I'm happy to bring him on board to kind of talk to you a little bit about what's happening today. Okay, so without further ado, here is David. Hey, David, can you hear me? Okay, great. So before we even get started, I would like to get you to kind of give yourself an introduction about you and a little bit about your experience and what brought you to the lending world. Because we don't start at lending, or maybe some people do. I'm not sure exactly what your track has been, but I'll be interested to know.
Yeah, so thank you for having me on. And you're right. I wasn't a 10-year-old kid wanted to be a lender.
Right?
Uh, so so first, a little bit of my background. I have 14 years of financial service experience, 8 of those on the mortgage side. A good part of those was with a big bank, and now I am with Mortage Matters. Um, like I tell a lot of people that I meet, mortgage found me. I was kind of thrown into a role to assist other loan officers, and I just kind of grew from there.
Great, great. So obviously, I think maybe all of us like money since the beginning of time because I remember, you mentioned you didn't grow up thinking lending, but you grew up thinking maybe an allowance or hey, I want some money for candy or something like that, right? As we grow up, so I think everybody can relate with that. But great, great information about yourself, and I'm glad to have you on today's spotlight. So, I've been telling everybody that I've been talking to that rates are going up, and primarily the reason I'm so adamant about that is because there's a window of opportunity for some people, right? So, and how these rates will affect them in the future in regards to their purchasing power and also for their plans in the future for homes. So what I like to do is, I have several questions that I think that our audience wants to hear, and if they don't want to hear it, they need to hear it because I think
Right,
when it comes to purchasing, they need to plan. It just doesn't happen overnight. I usually use the
right,
analogy when I have a new client of going to the mall and forgetting your wallet. Okay, if you go to the mall and you're walking through the stores and you're looking through the windows, like, hey, you know what? I like those shoes or I like that shirt, and then you get to the register and you forgot your wallet, right? You can't buy it. So I kind of correlate that to getting pre-qualified to purchase, and along those lines, whenever you decide to get pre-qualified, you have to think about, okay, what are the forecasted or what are the rates currently? Because that's probably one of the first questions you get asked as a lender when somebody comes
Yep.
in and says, hey, I'm interested in purchases. So can you tell us a little bit about that? And what are the forecasted rates for 2022 so we can kind of talk a little bit about that too?
Sure. I mean, yeah, the interest rates is very important, and that is one of the first questions that I do get asked by all of our clients. Obviously, we all know the rates have increased here these past couple of weeks, but in all reality, I don't think I don't think it was unexpected. So this should have happened last year, but I guess in this case, fortunately, due to COVID, they stayed late. They stayed low. So on the lending side, this was expected, and we were prepared and preparing our customers for this time period. Uh, but given that they've increased about half a percent, they're still low. They're still low compared to, you know, 5, 6, 10 years ago. They're just not as low as people had been seeing. But yeah,
Yeah, I so one of the so we did a 2022 forecast, which we use Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and obviously the forecasted rates for 2022. And obviously, we're at like currently at the beginning of this year, especially for first quarter, they were talking about 3.5, and then towards the latter part of the year, fourth quarter, they were talking 4%, but definitely no more than 4%. Right now, what are the rates right now on a typical 30-year mortgage? Let's say everybody, all things being equal, great client, blah blah blah. Qualifications are great, great credit. Are they ready? They're ready to purchase, good income, blah. The ideal candidate, what would be the interest rates on that particular person on a 30-year rate?
keeping to keep the costs low, we're probably already at 3.5, 3.75 on a 30-year fix.
So in a 30-year fix, we're already at 3.75, between 3.5 to 3.75, right?
Yep.
Okay, and this is just first quarter, David. So based on that, based on that information,
This
what
is
do you think
first
is going to
month.
happen? I mean, we're not even past the first quarter.
Yeah. And that's not, so what I use to forecast or
Hmm.
had used is the 10-year treasury bond. And that's actually still where it was at a few months ago. And that's what is projected to increase here the next few months. So as that increases, um, mortgage rates will take another increase as well.
Okay, so what you're saying is, so when we hear like in the news, how it's been in the news here lately that the Fed's raising interest rates. Okay,
Hmm.
so is that a good forecast for us to kind of consider when it comes to interest rates, or are you talking there's a difference between what the Fed is talking about, where they're raising interest rate and a 10-year Treasury note?
I think they go hand in hand.
Okay.
Um, as the Feds raise rates, other things in the financial service rates go up as well.
Okay.
So when we do hear about the Fed raising rates, we can expect all rates to increase, including mortgages.
Okay. So I was reading an article today regarding the Fed. I believe they're meeting this week or something like that, or they're just finished meeting, and it turns out that they really didn't increase the rate. So I think that's a really good sign. But it's almost like a
Yeah.
canary in the coal mine, right? When you see the
Uh-huh.
canary kind of wandering around and wobbling, and before he falls, you know something's going on. And this is the meeting with the Fed. They're just walking around thinking, it's like, what we're gonna do, you know.
Yeah.
So, well, that was great because the second question that I had for you was regarding, is there any way to forecast the increase? And you hit it right on the dot. Great information regarding the 10-year Treasury note and how that how the Fed influences that in our economy. So that's great.
Right.
So how does an increase affect a buyer? Obviously, it'll be more money on an interest payment on the side of the purchase. But really, how else does that affect a buyer when it comes to purchasing a home?
It's the purchasing power,
Okay,
right? So the higher the rate, the lower the sorry, not lower, the higher the payment, which
gotcha.
means that if they were looking at a $350,000 home to stay in the same payment that we had a few months back, now we have to
Mm-hmm.
look at a $325,000 home.
Mm, okay.
Yeah.
So I have a
So
little slide here that I kind of like want to show you, see what you think. Now this particular slide
okay.
just basically mortgage update because rates matter. That's exactly what you're talking about. The rates do matter, right? So the rates
They
matter because
definitely.
it's a purchasing power of the buyer. Now,
Mhm.
um, so let's say they are qualified now. Let's say you're working with somebody right now that was qualified or what. I'm sure you have a range of different clients and different agents that have different clients that are you know
Mhm.
there's like a let's look at a graph light, right, and there's like degrees of qualified buyers, right?
Mhm.
So there will be some that they barely qualify, to some that are very qualified, and then some that are highly qualified. Those individuals that are on the bubble with on the lower scale of the qualification, how would an interest rate affect them?
Well, they would come to a point where they just wouldn't be able to qualify for a mortgage if they were, right on the cusp, having the debt their debt to income ratio is maxed out, and we have this 0.5% interest rate increase. Well, that's going to throw them over the limit to where we wouldn't be able to qualify for the loan.
Mm. So I see two things here, double-edged sword, right? So one of the things that I hear from you is the fact that if an individual is barely qualified to purchase, they need to purchase quickly, right? That's really the
Quickly,
warning.
or be prepared for a bigger down payment.
Okay, so if typical down payments on a typical 30-year note, let's say we use a conventional, is that 3.5%, 6%? What is that?
First time home buyer can do
Mm-hmm.
3% down. Um, if they have already owned a home, then they can do 5%.
Okay, so if they own a home before, let's say this is their second home, then it's five
Mm-hmm.
percent minimum, right?
5% down minimum.
Okay. So obviously, if they're looking for low interest rates and regarding a a purchase, you know, the chances, and this is what I've run into too. Okay, a lot of times,
Mm-hmm.
some buyers that are looking for lower interest rates, which everybody wants, a lower payment, will have a possible down payment. Obviously, everybody's going to need to have a down payment, like you said, a minimum 3% for a first-time home buyer. But let's say the interest rate goes up. What you're saying is they may have to do more than that for
Yes.
the
To
purchase.
right to keep in that same purchase price,
Hmm.
or then we would have to lower the purchase price.
Okay. Well, so we also did a market update, market review for 2021, December 2021, in the Fort Worth area. Homes appraised higher at 23% based on 2020 information. So houses
Wow.
continue to go up, and yeah, exactly. Wow, that's what I said when I saw the data. I'm like, wow. And for those of you interested in getting that information, we have it in our previous spotlight. It's called December 2021 market update. So housing report, basically. Okay, so take a look at that. So so obviously, what you're telling us is that an increase in interest rates could definitely affect everybody on qualification scale, right? Whether minimally qualified to highly qualified, because everybody's going to have to pay more.
Exactly. It's
Okay.
just even the highly qualified clients
Hmm.
are being affected by the higher rates and the higher market values for these homes.
Right, right. So one of the other things that we noticed during our review was that there were some homes that keep coming back in the market. Now, I've had some experience where obviously for different reasons they come back on the market, whether it be inspections, whether it be qualifications. But what you're saying that this could also affect somebody that's already qualified, maybe purchasing under contract. Interest rates goes up or no? Why? And if no, why is that?
Um, if the rate is not locked, yes, they would be subject to the rate increase.
Mm.
If we had a savvy lender that went ahead and locked the rate a month ago, then no, they would not be affected. They still have last month's rates.
Okay, great. So I want to tell you something. David Mendez is a savvy lender. We've worked with some clients and we lock them as soon as we can. So I appreciate that. And so what you're saying is that in order for you to maintain the current interest rate that you have, instead of floating the rate, which means it will go up and down depending on the market conditions,
Mhm.
it's a good idea to lock in the rate as soon as possible so that
As
you
soon as
know for
possible.
sure that that factor will not affect your qualifications, correct?
Exact, exactly. Yep.
Okay.
If we leave the rate floating, then we're subject to the increases that the with this market volatility.
Okay, sounds good. So the next thing that I want to know is how high do you think rates will go this year, based on your experience? I mean, what's your it's like putting your fingers like which way is the wind blowing? But because I have a lot of experience regarding houses and real estate and stuff, and I always rely on the lender's expertise to kind of figure out okay what's the best thing to do, specifically for
Uh-huh.
different clients depending on the loan program. So what do you think? I mean, and we won't hold you to this, but really, what's your gut feeling?
If if yeah, well, my gut feeling is probably will be at 4.25 by the end of the year.
Wow. Okay. And what gives you that number?
So before COVID, that's
Hmm.
where the rates were,
Oh.
and
Okay.
then COVID dropped them back down.
Oh.
So
Perfect.
that's kind of, I think we're getting back to that point of where the rates are supposed to be.
Okay. So we mentioned something earlier. You brought it up regarding that. On when you look at the history of rates, we're definitely at a low stage of rates. Even at 4.25, 4.5, that's still
Hmm.
lower than some of the previous decades. I mean, if you look at the
Yeah.
scale, and we actually did that in one of our 2022 forecasts, we looked at that. We looked
Hmm.
at, besides 2006, 2008, there wasn't really a low in housing purchases, but interest rates were still high. I mean, I remember back in 2006 when I purchased my house. I was excellent credit. Great job. Plenty of
Hmm.
funds, and it was at 8%. You know,
Yeah.
and we still purchase. It's like people are still going
Right.
to need
Exactly.
houses, right? So,
Right.
and obviously at the first opportunity, I refinance. So got that,
Yeah.
got that dip.
Probably two
So
or three times.
exactly. I think this has been my second one.
Yeah. There you go.
So okay, so great. So that's one of the things that people need to keep in mind. Obviously, that interest rates could go up and down. Houses will still be sold.
Hmm.
So that's some of the questions that sellers have. It's like even though right now it's a serious, I mean, sellers market. If you look at the inventory, we have less than 1 month of inventory in a DFW area. The only place that has something higher than one is Parker County. Okay, Parker County, but their houses has also increased. So everything is going up, and you know, and if the interest rates continue to go up, it might affect the actual flow, but not as much because we still have a low inventory. So people are still buying. You know, history tells
Right.
us that happens. So, how should a buyer react right now? Then, if a buyer is actually thinking of getting into the market, what would your opinion be? How should they react?
I think they should buy. I mean, at the end of the day, it's an investment. It's an investment for their future and even possible retirement. A home is an appreciating asset. So even though you're buying it at an all-time high, like you said, history shows the value is only going to keep increasing.
Hmm. Yes,
So,
you're
and
absolutely
then
right. And I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say that by now, rates, yes, rates are high. They'll come back down, and when they come back down, we'll reach back out to get you into that lower rate.
Yeah, I like the way you put it. It's like, rates are high. Actually, when we really look at the relatively speaking, rates are still low, even at 4.5. I know we're used
They
to
are.
like threes and the twos and everything like that, but I think when you really think about what's been happening in the industry and the market, and if you look at the track record of interest rates, we're still low. Okay, so relatively, you
Mhm.
just take comfort in that you're not paying at the highest level. Uh, Houses may
Right.
be higher, but the interest rates are lower. Okay, I'll
Yes.
give you one example. Okay, so I'll use a personal example. I don't like to talk about anybody else's business or anybody else's results, but I want to tell you my result. Okay, so when I purchased back in 2006, we had our interest rate at 8%, and we built a custom home here in the DFW area. Back in 2006, we paid like 321 for the home, and a 2006 we looked to refinance, and it was appraised at 650. That was in 2006.
Wow.
Okay, and then relatively shortly after that, you remember when we had the 2008, the crash and everything, and how
Yep.
appraisers were being tougher on the amounts they were appraising, and so everything was coming in lower. So my house was reassessed, and it was a little lower. I just refinanced again, and it was appraised at over 750. So I,
Wow.
I want I want to say that, like you said, this is an investment that we have, right? That we
Hmm.
invest in, and I wouldn't be in this business and if I didn't think it was a good investment. But it's
Right.
also your home. I always tell people, when you purchase a home, look at your needs, buy something that you like. Now, yes, it's an investment, but you want to live in your investment. It's almost like people
Yep.
like to fix their houses right before they move. We like to fix the house as we live in it because
Right.
that's what we like. And that makes it more appealing because people understand that you've been taking care of your home, right? And so when you look at the
Yeah.
house, you're not trying to
Hmm.
rush to trying to fix everything. It's already fixed. So, okay, so
Definitely.
let's talk a little bit about keys to get qualified to purchase. What would some of the things that you have given advice to your clients to get qualified for the most available credit?
So there's three factors that I initially look at. So one is income. Let's try to maintain the same income that you have when we started the application. Try to make
Mm-hmm.
not have any major employment changes. The second one is assets. So try to have as much disposable assets as possible. Even if we don't use them when you buy the home, it still looks good to a lender having the additional savings set aside. And then three is credit. So we try to work on getting the highest credit score available and keeping your debt as low as possible. So don't go shopping for a new car before you buy your home.
Don't buy any furniture before you close.
Right.
Yes, exactly. And we think it's funny and we laugh about it, but it happens. We advise our clients not to purchase anything before we close. and the day before we close, they're out buying furniture and they're opening new credit. And not every I guess lender will double check the credit the day before closing, but some have. And then if it shows up, guess what?
Somehow, yeah,
And if it ticks you off that the debt to income ratio, you're like, oh, you better go cancel now. And
yeah.
we're running through hoops. It becomes a circus. We're running through hoops trying to get everything done at the same time. So please don't do that. Okay. Um,
Please don't.
so you have three things that you look at when you try to qualify a person. We look at three things when we look at selling a home, and one of those
Hmm.
three things is obviously the location. The location is one of the most important
Yeah.
things because people look by areas. Okay, so they say,
Hmm.
okay, I want to look in this area. I want to look in this subdivision. That's the location. That's number one. The second thing is price. Okay, if you got the highest price in the neighborhood and you're trying to get the highest price that you possibly can, but there's other homes similar to yours in like maybe either the next neighborhood or just down the street, you're really selling that house. Okay, so price. And then
Hmm.
the condition. The condition needs to relatively be compared to the price. If you're looking at a home that needs a lot of updates or a lot of repairs, please think about marking
Hmm.
it according to the price and the amount of work that has to be done in the house. Because if you
Hmm.
overprice it, a lot of times it's going to sit on the market, and people are going to say, "What is wrong with that?" And then if they go look at it and they see there's a lot of things wrong with it, so
Yeah.
market it according to those three factors: location, price, and condition. And I think you'll do well. And on the buyer side, that's what you look for. So I gave you that insight as a seller because that's what buyers are looking for. Okay, so those are the
Gotcha.
cute couple of things that I look at when I work with buyers and sellers. So from your experience, okay, David, what kind of advice do you have for either new buyers coming into the market or experienced buyers who are actually on their second win looking for another property?
Um, I think setting realistic expectations is one of them. So by talking to real estate professionals like yourself and myself, and knowing what it takes to get into a $300,000 home is key. So once we set those expectations and a buyer knows what they are, then we just make sure we um, meet their expectations, um, and then just also ask questions. I mean, most people are buying homes every year. For most, is they buy one home and that's it. So because they don't do this process as often as we do, just ask questions, any question that they have, so that there's no surprises.
I like that. Let me go back to the expectation aspect. I agree with you that we have to kind of make sure expectations meet the current conditions. And right now, obviously, you work with several agents and you see several qualifications, and you probably have right now, based on today's market, I will bet you have several people qualify to purchase, and they're out there actively looking and maybe having some problems, right? And one of those is our client. we've been running into some situations. However,
Yes.
so one of the things that I'd like to caution new buyers is the fact that today's market is very competitive. However, right now, this winter session between this first quarter, really, it's probably the best time to buy if you're a first time buyer. And the reason I say that is because the market is a lot slower than it will be in the spring. Man, when the spring heats up and you're gonna have more people looking for houses, it's gonna be crazy. I always look at it like stepping on an ant pile. Man, it's just gonna be everywhere. And even though as real estate agents we have a lot of fun doing that, not stepping on ant piles, but helping people buy homes, it could be really, really crazy this coming spring. So that would be one of the cautionary tales that I would tell a brand new buyer, because usually brand new buyers, David, correct me if I'm wrong, may not have the reserves required for a multiple offer situation, right? How do you feel about that? Am I on the target?
Yeah, first time home buyers and having multiple offers, having to overbid for homes is never a good combination. For the Not every first time home buyer, but a lot of them just have enough for the down payment and the closing costs, or we're looking into down payment assistance programs. So if we need to go 5, 10, 15,000 over asking price and the home doesn't make value, there won't be those additional assets to cover the difference.
Mm, yes. And a lot of things has happened where, because individuals are submitting offers where are higher than expected or higher than asking, for example, on the seller's side, we always ask for the cancellation amendment, which due to appraisal, which has three options. And I kind of went in explaining option number one is you're paying whatever price they're asking, no matter what the appraised value is.
Mhm.
You waive the appraisal. Second is it's like a partial. You will pay the difference between the appraised value and the sales price. Okay. And then the third option is where you can cancel the contract if it doesn't appraise at a certain number within a certain amount of time. You can negotiate the price, but at the end of the day, you can cancel and walk away from the deal. So those are the kind of on the conventional loan. Now FHA, obviously FHA is different, right? How is
Yeah.
FHA different, David?
So FHA has a separate a mandatory clause
Mm-hmm.
where it states that if the home does not meet the sales price, the buyer can cancel the contract and not lose their earnest money. And that's signed by the buyer, the seller, and the listing agent. So everyone's aware if the home doesn't make
Yep.
value, the buyer can cancel the contract without losing earnest money.
Yep, and exactly that's option number three on a conventional loan. Pretty much, that's exactly how that works.
Mhm.
hmm Okay, great. So we're reaching the end of our presentation, but I wanted to kind of show something here. The importance of pre-qualification. So take a look at this, David. First of all, it gives you clarity when determining your home buying budget. And that's one of the first things we tell people. It's like, hey, it's like, how do we know what house to look at if we don't know how much you can buy? Is that correct?
That's correct.
And the second thing is it offers you more desirable and has a competitive edge in a bidding war. Now, I got to tell you, if on the seller side, if I'm getting a contract on a purchase of my on the listing that I have, if I don't get a pre-qualification letter or even better, a proof of funds for a cash purchase or a
Mhm.
fully underwritten letter, then obviously the pre-qualification letter is a must. We don't even consider contracts without a pre-qualification letter if they don't have the other two. So, have you had a lot of people try to make offers, or your agents calling you and say, "Hey, I need to get a pre-qualification ASAP." 911 call
Yeah,
is what I call them.
yeah. Sunday nights, I need an updated pre-qual letter. Yeah, but the client, the first step is getting your finances in order. So that's just that helps them more than anything, right? They don't want to go in blind and then out and submitting offers. Especially with my clients, we I want to make sure that they're confident buyers and not hopeful buyers. And then obviously on with the listing side, they know that the offer will go through if it's accepted by the seller.
Yes, exactly. Well, you know what? This also gives everybody confidence. On the slide, what it says is you can have more confidence on your ability to secure a loan. Well, guess what? When you have that letter, you already provided a lot of information to the lender as a purchaser. So obviously, we already talked a little bit about that. He's already checked. If you have the assets, if you have the reserves, if you have the income, and he's already giving you some advice, like a savvy lender would be, to let's lock the loan as soon as possible once you get it executed contract. So those are the kind of things that we look for, and we have experts on our team like David, who is one of our lenders that we utilize quite often. And I want to say thank you for being here tonight, David. I think your insight and your experience definitely provides more credibility. And I thank you for being here tonight. Any parting words that you would like to give our audience at all?
Well, first, you're welcome. And thank you for having me on here on your show. Um, Glad I can impart some of my 14 years of experience. As far as parting wisdom for anybody in the market, um, make sure that your real estate partners do have that experience, right? Not to say that someone that's brand new can't help you, but it makes it less stressful and easier if you have experienced real estate partners.
Fantastic, fantastic. Hey, so David, how can people get a hold of you?
Um, they can reach me on my cell phone.
Oh, what's
Um,
you want to give that out to them?
yeah, which is 817-891-4699. I've had that number for 20 years.
Who is that with? AT&T or Verizon? Or who is that with?
T-Mobile.
Oh, T-Mobile. Well,
Yeah.
T-Mobile better send you a good discount. All right. So
I call them every year.
you call them every year. It's like, hey, give me that
Yeah.
information. Okay,
Yeah.
fantastic. So hey, so I want to say thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We'll have David's information in the description of this video. So if you didn't catch that, you can actually rewind to that point. But also, don't forget, we'll have it on our description. And if you contact David and you hear from us, please let him know. And if you're looking to purchase or buy a home in the DFW market, give us a call, and we will be glad to help you out. David, I want to say thank you very much. Thank you for being here tonight. We'll be in touch, and we'll follow up with you tomorrow regarding our client, our mutual client. Okay.
Client. Sounds good. You're very
Okay.
welcome, and it was my pleasure.
All right. Thank you so much. All right, guys. That was David Mendez with Mortgage Matters. I want to say thank you to him. Very good interview. So you can reach us at 833-722-7853. There's different options. Please listen to the whole message because our options may have changed. You've heard that everywhere you go. And also, you can contact us at info@premiercastlerealty.com. We have two websites that you can find us at premiercastlerealty.com or CO. Okay. And if you're looking for us on social media, we have them listed down here at the bottom. Give us a like, follow us, and keep in touch with us. If you have any questions, send us an email, give us a call. We'll be glad to help you out. And if you're interested in getting a seller and buyer's guide, we have those available for you. Send us a email at info@premiercastlerealty.com/sellers or buyers guides, and we'll be glad to help you out. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, and we'll see you on the next presentation of the Spotlight.